Good morning, River House. This is Pastor Jordan. I want to talk to you today about the gift of deconstruction. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 3. It says, there's a time to tear down and a time to build up. And these are days where, whether we like it or not, a lot of things are being torn down in our lives, in our schedules, in our cultures, in our finances, everything. And I believe that God is in this, and God is desiring to actually tear down certain things. And you may be thinking, that sounds really harsh, but I promise you that from God's perspective, it is not harsh at all. When you think of remodeling a home, you tear things down with great hope and anticipation of what's going to be built in its stead. And right now, I believe God is filled with hope and anticipation of what he is accomplishing in the hearts and in the souls of his people. As I pastor many, I've heard the similar sentiment expressed that there's this desire for increased connection with God, increased connection with spouses, increased connection with kids, increased connection with community. Like, people are always expressing these desires and yet find themselves unable of actually living lives that produce what we want in our hearts. And I believe that the reason that we've had the inability to do what we've had in our hearts to do when it comes to what we're building with our lives is because there are structures that have inhibited this. And so for that reason, God is actually remodeling our lives. And I believe going to restructure and even reorient the rhythm that we live our lives going forward. And so that this season is a gift. It is a gift of grace that God is remodeling us from the inside out with so much hope and anticipation. So these are days of tearing down. God is good. He loves us so much that he's willing to allow things like what's taking place in the world to take place, to serve as a wake-up call to build and usher in a new season for our souls. When doing an extensive remodel of a home, you strip a home down to its foundation and to its basic elements. And I believe that it's very important that we embrace God's grace, this deconstructing grace in the season, and allow him to strip us down to a place and bring our souls to silence. He will not be able to build in the coming season what he's desiring to build if he is not able to bring us and deconstruct us down to a place of true soul silence and soul rest. Silence is one of the most confrontational forces in the world. Our culture is scared to death of silence, and it's part of why we've busied ourselves with so much doing and so much activity. It's because silence terrifies us. But the truth is that silence is one of the greatest gifts that we can ever have. And when I'm talking about silence, I'm not just talking about if you're speaking or not. I'm talking about when your soul has found rest in God. Psalm 62:1, David prays, "My soul waits in silence for God alone. He is my rock. He is my refuge. My hope is found in him alone." It's a little bit of a paraphrase, but you could read it. David is not talking about if he's talking or not. He's not talking about the outside world. He's talking about a soul. The emotions, the will, that internal world within us has found silence and rest before God. It is so vital that we learn and we find silence in this season. The truth is that we only have two choices in light of everything that's going on right now. We can go full tilt or we can surrender. Full tilt is a poker term of when you lose a big hand, you hastily try to get that money back you lost and you end up making stupid decisions, right? There's temptation right now to go full tilt. Our schedules are getting turned upside down. Schools are being canceled. The stock market's crashing. We don't know if we're going to be quarantined to our homes or not. And there's a temptation for the soul to start busying itself with more activity to try to fill the void that's being given to us as a gift by God. Or we can surrender to the unknown. We can surrender to the uncertainty, and we can fight for our soul to find peace and true silence. And I use the word fight very intentionally because your soul has been trained by the busyness of culture to protest coming to a place of silence. And so we will have to fight to come to a place of soul silence, of soul rest in the presence of God, where we learn to just be and not have to be so busy doing. The reason our soul has so much protest is because it's caught in the middle. It touches our spirit, which is the place where we commune with God. But our soul also engages with people and the stock market and the housing market and all the things that are going on in our lives, our schedules right now. So the soul is subjected to all the volatility of what's happening in circumstances, but it also has the ability to submit and connect to the spirit, to our inner man. And so Jesus is in the inner man saying, come to me and I'll give you rest. Right? Where all the craziness of our circumstances are saying, come to me and I'm going to give you a bunch of activity to do that will make you feel like you're in control. But the truth is, we know nothing is in control right now. The only place of security and peace is in Jesus. We have to find this place in Jesus. I want to read 2 verses of Hebrews 4, and then I'm going to challenge you to go to God yourself. Hebrews 4:11 says, let us strive to enter the rest of God. Right? We have to strive. We have to fight to enter into this rest. And then the end of Hebrews 4, which I believe is another big clue, it says, we don't have a high priest who can't sympathize with our weakness, but one who's been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. Therefore, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, so we may receive mercy and find grace and to help in time of need. Jesus was tempted in the same way that we were. Jesus' soul was subjected to the craziness of the world he lived in, but he was able to boldly approach the throne of his Father and find grace at all times. And he has asked us now, as our high priest and our mediator, that we can approach him and he will give us grace. He will help us find rest in this time, in this turbulent time. We need his help, but he's saying, come to me. Ask me. So I want to encourage you this morning I want you to read the whole chapter of Hebrews 4. And then I want you to spend time and I want you to approach the throne of grace. I want you to come before Jesus and ask for his help to give you grace, to come into silence, to teach your soul how to rest and to find peace in these trying times. And for the next 3 days following today, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, I'm going to talk about 3 different tools that God gives us to deal with the protest of our souls. And we're going to go on a journey of allowing God to deconstruct us so that we are poised and we are solid foundations that he can do this building work and this remodeling in the rhythm of our lives in the days to come. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.